Good morning, Commissioner Amani, my dear sister. Of course, the first thing that I want to tell you, how pleased I am to be here to have this conversation with you. And of course, to thank you for your time to be here. This is a conversation about critical sectors for Africa. If you do not address them in the next 5 to 10 years, we miss again the opportunity. You know that Africa needs to create around 80 million jobs annually. To create 80 million jobs annually, you need industrialization. But you lead critical sectors, critical key success factors for industrialization in Africa: energy and ICT, transport and infrastructure. Just tell me what you have been able to do to move forward on these priorities from an Africa development standpoint.
Good morning, my dear sister and Excellency Cristina. You and I go a long way, so it's always with great pleasure and pride that I meet with you. You're doing a great job where you are, carrying the voice of Africa like you do, like you've always done. It's true, we do need lots of jobs now. We are also the fastest growing population in the world. The majority of our people, 65 to 70%, are youth. So that makes the issue even more compelling, more urgent, more complex. Infrastructure in general, all sectors of infrastructure are known to be two things. One, the backbone for development of any other sector. Two, largest employer. When you do a road, the number of people. When you railways, the number of people. When you digital is an enabler. For everybody to work and study and play. Energy, you cannot do anything without energy. You can do none of the above nor any other thing without energy. So we do have a very big challenge in the continent. The state of our infrastructure is either weak or inexistent, with few exceptions in a few countries. Remember, we are 55 countries, so we cannot generalize. Few countries, yes, have managed to have excellent infrastructure, state of the art, as a matter of fact, and making big leaps. But this is not the common story, and we want to make sure that the common story of Africa for all of us is that one of success. So our aim is to have reliable infrastructure, affordable infrastructure, and also sustainable infrastructure. And this is what our Agenda 2063 has guided us to do. With my team and the work that we're doing within the African Union Commission, we have devised projects of regional transcontinental nature in the sectors of transport, in the sectors of energy, in the sectors of digital, in order to fast track the implementation or the realization of our goal for affordable, sustainable and reliable infrastructure. And why regional, why transcontinental? Because at the end of the day, Africa is 55 small economies. And by pooling, these projects together, we create, opportunities at scale for investors, for investment in general. We try also, it helps us with our even higher goal of unity, of integration within the continent. It helps with things like, for the African Free Trade Area to work, movement of people and goods, connectivity across the continent, making use of the abundant sources of energy across the continent that we're having, so putting them together so we have power pools across the continent and so on and so forth. So we have the program for infrastructure development in Africa, which is a 10-year program, going 10 year. We finished a very successful 10-year. Now we launched a second 10-year program. And
Congratulations.
thank you very much. Now we're going into the second bunch of projects. There are 69 projects, again, regional and transcontinental, so huge projects in the sectors I mentioned. We're also having some great initiatives. Some of them really are moving very fast. For instance, the single African air transport market. That's to create, one market for air transport in Africa to facilitate, again, the movement of people and of goods, and to lower down the prices for people to move, to also for the goods to be transported. And as we speak, there are 36 countries who have joined this market. We're talking about 800 million people in Africa that are using this market already. We are now into a single African energy market. We want all sources of energy in Africa to be connected, to be generated, to be connected, to be traded across the continent. That is a huge endeavor, but it's not an impossible one. And we are determined to make it work between here and 2040. With that, of course, with all these projects, I mean, with these flagship initiatives, comes issues like how do you harmonize the regulations, and yes, and the standards across the continent? How do we deal with things like dispute resolution? There are so many legal, technical issues to be resolved. For the air transport, we resolved all of those. All our documents, legal documents, and standards and regulations have been and agreements have been finalized. We're working on one for energy. We're doing the same also for digitalization. Already in Africa, by the way, for those who do not know, some regions made big steps, yes, towards that. Now we want to link the regions together. So not to stay within just, Eastern Africa or just Southern Africa, but to
interregional
as well. So I know that it sounds, it is huge, but it sounds like will this happen in my lifetime? Yes, it will. And we want to make sure it does. And we're raising our voices, in order to get the finance we deserve. We're mobilizing our people to also have our African firms and companies actively participate in these huge projects. We want to see women and men leading and working and thriving as well. So we're trying to tackle the issue from all sides, and we do believe that it will work. Now, we want also a railways network across the continent that was just approved by the ministers 2 weeks ago in Tanzania to be a flagship for the African Union. Also an African railway network that connect all of us in addition to the connectivity, the digital connectivity, in addition to the air transport connectivity, in addition to roads, in addition to energy. We want to be one. It's a great continent with plenty of resources, the best of which is the human resources and the creativity of our people and their energy and their yes, culture and their arts and their sports. And we want them to thrive, and we want them to deploy their energy where it should be.
Let me take this intervention, my dear sister Amani, and you just mentioned outstanding projects, flagship projects at the regional and interregional basis. This is an information that is critical in terms of impacting positively the risk profile of Africa. And a private sector needs to know all the projects that are into motion, moving forward. Let's narrow to energy. We, as you know, we have 600 million people without electricity. Africa Union position, thanks to your strong personality and strong voice, has been clear last year. Each African country is entitled to undertake its own energy planning, define its own energy mix. This is in the Africa statement, putting all the sources, energy sources on the table, acknowledging that we all need to deliver a green planet, but Africa has a different starting point. How can we scale up off-grid solutions to bring these same off-grid solutions to the 600 million people, sometimes in remote village? The question is, we want to access technology. Mm-hmm. How we can overcome this barrier?
You mentioned 600 million people who do not have access to electricity, but we also have close to 1 billion people, 900 million to be exact, who do not have access to clean cooking.
Exactly.
So it's not just the 600, it's actually combines 1,600,000,000. So it's a very, very challenging task. First of all, we don't connect the 600 million people by off-grid, and you mentioned off-grid. Why off-grid? In technical terms, you use everything that is possible, and there is no one solution that fits all. You cannot treat an industrial zone, if you are building an industrial zone, like a farm, a village, that needs energy, but in a different way and in a different manner. So there is no one solution. What we're saying is that we need all solutions. You have not only to tailor the solutions per country, but also within the country, within the area you are implementing your project. You have to see what exactly are the needs now and in the future, and tailor your solution accordingly. What is happening over the last 3 years, since let's just say since 2022, maybe since last year, the world is living an energy crisis, and there is fast tracking of energy projects, renewables, and also the energy security became a priority, in addition to the climate issues, which are being, of course, I mean, that's another very complex crisis. There's a war. I mean, so we are living in a time of, three or four crises at the same time. But energy is topping everyone's agenda. That is, for us, we kept screaming and saying, listen, energy is important. No one was hearing us. Now they're listening. So it is sad or tragic that it had to come via or through multiple crises, but at least now people are receptive, to the messages that we're trying to. So that's already a good start. So they are listening when we talk and when we say energy is a priority. This is one. Two, technology is moving very fast. And the prices, you have the fossil prices are going up. At the same time, the prices of renewables are going down, which is, again, a good development. We are, let me just remind you, and not that you have forgotten, Africa is the region that uses renewable the most in the world. Actually, renewables represent 40.5% of our energy mix in Africa, which is the highest of any other region in the world. And we have countries in Africa whose energy comes, 90% of it comes from renewables. Anyway, so we're not excluding anything. We're saying let's make the technology work for us. What helps also, there's the nexus, digital and energy. And Africa is, again, the fastest growing region when it comes to digitalization. There has been some developments. You're talking off-grid or mini-grid. Let me talk about the mini-grids, where you have a solar panel that works, and then you pay, because payment has always been an issue. Now you pay by mobile money, so you become producer and seller of energy within a village. Fantastic. Fantastic. But this is not the same case as if you want to build, a big industry, then you need something else. So we're not excluding anything. We're trying to benefit from what's happening around the world to make this crisis, tragic as it is, to make it also work for us in terms of mobilizing finance, mobilizing expertise, mobilizing the technology to work for us, and what also may be, again, the biggest important issue is that the world needs us.
Exactly.
The world needs us, and especially when it comes to energy. We could be the biggest source of renewable energy to cover Africa and the world.
Exactly.
Which is fantastic. So there is a new scramble to Africa for the energy and renewable energy. The trick is to also make it work for us, not to think only export, but to make sure that we balance our needs, domestic needs within a country, and also the needs for revenues through exports. This is applicable. Yes, this is valid for renewable energy. This is valid for the things like green hydrogen. We have 9 countries in the continent that are currently producing green hydrogen, and we are starting a continent-wide green hydrogen strategy. What we're saying is that, please, it's not just all for export. Now, what have you done internally to internalize, to start domestically, develop the value chains within our countries to make it work for our people, to create value, to employ them, to create green industries like green steel or green fertilizers, and I can go on and on. So there's a two-part. We do have also to change our mindset from exporting commodities or energy or green hydrogen, what have you, or cocoa or whatever, to one that is balancing domestic needs and export, and to get into the transformation of whatever goods or whatever raw material or energy that we're having, to make it to export value-added goods or products, and not just, green hydrogen or cocoa beans.
You put it very nicely. Different needs, different solutions. And when structuring, designing the different solutions, let's look at all energy sources in Africa.
Exactly.
You put it very nice. You mentioned digitalization.
Yes.
Which is a cross-cutting issue.
Yes.
Is an enabler. My last question, if you allow me 2 or 3 minutes. What can we do together to make digitalization in Africa to start increasing at a fast pace?
Digitalization is moving incredibly fast in Africa, and it's a fantastic story. And it's a fantastic story that with the little means that we're having, with intermittent or unreliable energy that we don't have or we have, with also the very expensive access to the internet, yes, also that is on the continent, our young people are making wonderful things. Now, as the African Union, we don't want just connectivity. We want all sectors to be digitalized. Exactly. So we have the e-health, which has started actually in some countries, and we have the strategy for African strategies for that. The e-education, the e-finance, the e-everything. We want digital is a game changer, is not only an enabler, it's that technology that is making us, bypass the traditional development path and to go straight, to ahead even of the world. It's without naming the country, the developed country, but it strikes me that you go everywhere in Africa, anywhere in Africa, you go and buy vegetables in the market and you pay with your mobile. And the lady doesn't even know how to read and write, but she uses her mobile and she has, a mobile account. Yes. And it did happen to me recently. I was in a very highly developed country, one of the top, and I was somewhere when someone said cash only. I was like, what is cash? We forgot this in the continent. We only use, digital tools. People thought I was in the middle of the Sahara. In the middle of the Sahara, there was nothing by myself, sand and road. And this is it. And, I saw I saw a camel passing by, and there was this Nigerian lady, very beautiful. I asked if I can take a picture. She said, yes, but could you please WhatsApp it to me after you finish? I was like, this is how powerful digital is. It's everywhere. And we have to use it and harness it. We do have a fantastic story despite the challenges. The thing is, we have to look at the aim, stop the complaints, make our voices united and high and loud, to be heard and just forge ahead.
Stop the complaints, make our voice louder
and united.
And just united and just go.
Just go.
Thank you.
Just do it.
Just do it. Thank you, my dear sister. It's been a pleasure
to
have this conversation with you.
It's a great pleasure and honor for me, Your Excellency. Thank you.